So we're really getting into the teeth of this. Is there such an expression? There should be. Okay, in page 139 on Kelly base of Rabbi Dessler, here is the now let me just sum up where we got to last week. We said that the Rambam says in Moreh Nevuchim that before Adam eats from the Eitz Hadas, then he only sees Sheker ve'emes. Sheker ve'emes. That's the perspective. What Hashem wants to happen is emes. Everything else is simply, the Hebrew word is ephes. It's nothing. It's just, it doesn't exist. After he eats from the tree of knowledge, there's a massive change in his perspective. And that's how Rabbi Dessler started off by saying, you got to understand that the Bechira of Adam Rishon was radically different to the Bechira that we have. And we've expressed that in as much as we have a negative part of us which speaks to us from inside and says, I want to do that which is opposite what God wants. And another voice says to us, seemingly from outside, you shouldn't. Before then, his eye was only to do good. And the Rambam expresses that as emes to sheker. What Hashem wants, that's emes. Everything else is sheker. After that, he sees it as good and bad. Right, which he translates as noah and maguna.
Relative.
Pleasant, yeah. Relative, that's right. Not quite relative, takes it a slightly different intellectual, philosophical direction, but you're more or less, I'm agreeing with you certainly. And the idea is that if you say that this derech is a bad derech and that derech is a good derech, but you've now created a tzad shab, you've now created a common denominator between the two, you now see them as drochim, you now see them as derechs, as ways to go. Before then, you never saw it as a way to go. It was just emes, one road, and sheker, and no road. It doesn't exist. Sheker, it's not there. Now you see it as a road. So to live a bad life is still living a life. To live a good life is living a life, which is a good life. But now you've now modified your perspective adjectively. Sorry, I'll just say that again. Adjectively, right? But that's to say that the adjective is now your perspective, but the noun, and that is ridiculous. You see, what God wants is being, before it was just, that's the way, and there's no other way. Now there's two ways. And this one's an adjective, good, and that's bad. Right? Now, that's how your perspective goes. Look at the sign Adam Rishon B'Chetain. Now, Kivar B'Nim, the countries of Bechira Chedek of paired base. Now, of all the Rabbi Dessler's writings, this is his most famous essay, and I assume, and I hope we've already covered this, and you know this stuff, but this is his famous essay on Bechira, his first essay on Bechira, in which he talks about Nakudas of Bechira. Right, are we all familiar with this idea here? I think I've got a share in this online. If not, I will have to put this on as a special share to accompany that. So this will be, so for those watching at home, all my thousands of viewers, then I will post a separate share on this. But the basic idea is that the choice only occurs when there is as we've discussed before, a basic numerical component, and that is 2. Where your Yitzhar and your Yitzhar HaTov clash, that's where Bechira occurs. But for most of us, there is no choice. Most of our actions lie behind the front self, either of our negative self or behind the front lines of our positive self. We do things, in other words, automatically without really consciously struggling to change. And the point where change occurs is when you hear a voice that says, do this, a voice that says, don't do that. There's a battle. If you push it back to there's a new fight. But it's always a fight. That's the basic headlines. That's what he says. Whatever level you're on, whether you're the son-in-law of a Rosh Hashiva and your name is something like, I don't know, Baron Kokilo's great-grandson or something like that, or yourself, Oliver Twist. Do you mind if I use that? Sorry, Americans, are you okay with that? No. Yeah, okay. Oliver Twist, right, his choice is whether to steal for Fagin or not. Anti-Semitic. Or whether or not, and the Rosh Hashiva, his son, is whether, to put more sincerity into his davening, has been on Chaver and certainly is limited. Okay. So how did a Bechira work for Adam Rishon before the Chet? As we've already expressed the idea before, that he's got no mixture of good and evil, he's got no 2. So here's a bit of a bomb about to explode. His choice is not between bad and good, literally, but moving as we understand it, it'll be toivla type. Between good and good. Oh, now we're going out. What does that mean? So let's see. The entirety of what he was expected to do was not to eat from the apple. Of course, it wasn't an apple, but never mind. Whatever the fruit was, and it wasn't a fruit anyway, because it wasn't a tree, he was a creature of light, and a creature of light doesn't eat a physical apple. That's all nonsense. But whatever it means, and remember what we said right at the beginning, there was no Garden of Eden, if you understand the garden as having, trees like they have growing outside here, and grass. That's not what it was. He wasn't a physical being. If you understand me being physical, he wasn't like that. Certainly freedom of choice didn't work for him either. So exactly how did it work? In common and this fruit of knowledge, he was okay, but it's very good for the artist to be able to picture it. Otherwise, what would they? There is a painting by a Russian artist, and I've forgotten his name, and it's called Black Square. Is that ringing a bell with anybody? Okay. So Black Square is, I think if I remember, it's that size by that size. And guess what it is? A black square. Do you know how much it sells for? The last time it was sold, 60 million.
Yeah.
60 million in a frame. It's not, it's not any sort of like stuff behind it. And just maybe there's a brushstroke or two you can see, but it's called Black Square. 60 million. The Russians must be laughing their heads off. Not the only ones, of course. No. But what would it be there for? What would the world be like? What would the artist do with the world of light? White square. Right. But if you imagine to be a tree with an apple, I'm going, and a snake, right? I saw a guy around here in Purim wearing a snake around his neck. Anyway, leaving that aside. Then he was something to paint, right? But this is nonsense. Okay. What's that mean? The only mitzvah that he had, which sounds ridiculous, was not to eat from the Itzadas. But we explained last week that what that means is to integrate, to internalize evil so that it becomes a part of you. So that every human being can be a great tzaddik, or a camp guard. Sorry, tired. A camp guard at Auschwitz, a capo at Auschwitz, that sort of thing. What it really meant was he was not supposed to change his perspective and change his position and internalize evil. But rather to stay stationary in the level that God created him in. Shabo Havkin Rak became his emes sheker. Have you got page 140? Did you get that still? Yeah. Okay. To be able to stay with emes and sheker. Don't change from our perspective. And everything that God created in his world at that level was all dedicated and designed for him to be able to do that. So he was in a perfect environment for him to be able to carry out the mission he had. But boom, there's another bit of a boom. This whole essay.
You would have reached Sharnon?
Sorry?
You would have reached Sharnon?
That's right. Had he only stayed and done what he's told, then the world would have been perfected. He would have gone, as you said, from the 49th level of spiritual greatness to the 50th. Done, job done. What I mean, now we're obviously talking way beyond our comprehension. But somehow or other the world will be perfected. What the world will be, we believe, perfected through the coming of the Mashiach and the period after that, etc., etc. All that would have been there, then, in a second. And again, when you say second, time didn't work for him in the same way as it works for us either. Adam Arishan, from this creation to being given a tour of the world, to being shown every animal in the world and naming every animal in the world, to the slight conflict with his wife over the apple or whatever you want to call it, and his being put on judgment, Rosh Hashanah, the first Rosh Hashanah, and expelled from the Garden of Eden. How long did that take?
Same day.
12 hours. So Gemara says 12 hours. What? How long did it take you to name every animal, everything in the world? Time didn't work for them the way it works for us either. Somebody said, that would be done in a second. Well, maybe a second was like a million years, I don't know. But again, we're not, if we start to, as the Ramban says, as he quoted at the beginning, or did he, or was it me just telling you, the Ramban says, that anybody who thinks they're going to understand what Adam Rishon was, or any really of the stories of the main characters in Bereshit from the Chumash, or from anywhere, forget it. An infinite cannot comprehend, a finite cannot comprehend an infinite. Okay. So, and there's a little note at the bottom here, but and it says if you want, you can look at the Ramchal and that to go further. We're struggling as it is anyway. Abba Mitzad Sheni, but on the other side. You've not been here for a while. Are you with me? I'm rushing through. You okay? Oh, you've been watching online?
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Do it. Are you giving me thumbs ups?
Yeah.
Good man. Good man. Yeah. And comments like, I can't believe how brilliant this person is. His humility is overwhelming. Okay. Abba Mitzad Sheni, on the other hand, here Geshad Amarishan, she talking Kiddush Hashem, but Madrigas Harbi Yusa. So he gets it. He knows his job is to do what he's told, and make for what purpose? To make a Kiddush Hashem. Right? I don't know how we even define that, but that would make God look good, whatever that means.
In front of, meaning
God doesn't need to look good, by the way. It's in your eyes.
We always consider Kiddush Hashem was impressing other people with your diligence and your steadfast adherence to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whether it be Jew or non-Jew. But he knew there was no one else there.
Right. Well, actually, everybody else was there because we were all contained in him.
Okay.
Which is a bit.
There's no one
strange.
else then.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I had a wife. And you do want to impress your wife. The important thing really here is Rabbi Essel's essay in Chilik Aleph on what was called Kiddush Hashem Maduma, I think it's called. False Kiddush Hashem. And he writes there that a person thinks the Kiddush Hashem, just as you defined it, is to, have non-Jewish people think, aren't Jews good people by our behavior. So normally what you're really doing is trying to impress Jews that they think you're a good person. He says the real Kiddush Hashem is the Kiddush Hashem you make for yourself.
I mean, like the Gemara says, Baruch Elokei Chava and Shetach, when he returned the pearl.
Right.
Like that stands out in my mind.
Which pearl were you talking about? The
Reb Shimon Shetach
lost
his money, and then his students put him in a donkey.
Yeah, it was in the donkey. It was in the donkey's
and it was stuck in the
saddle
or something.
Yeah.
And then he returned the pearl, and the guy said, Baruch Elokei Chava.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what everybody tries to aspire.
Because Rabbi Dessel says that's the last madriga of Kiddush Hashem. People think of it as the first, that's the last madriga. The first Kiddush Hashem is in front of 10 Jews. Right, and right at the end of the process, it's non-Jewish world. But that's where people tend to start, which means you've got the whole thing upside down. But the ultimate is you make a Kiddush Hashem in your own mind. And that's interesting, because your question is a very good one. Let's say there's nobody else. Let's say his wife's, she's gone to Costco. So, doing some shopping to get some water and all the other stuff that they're running out of because of the coronavirus, which started then, as everybody knows. Anyway, but basically, at that point, you've got the Kiddush Hashem you make yourself. Okay, let's go into this. Here goes Adam Rishon, she talking Kiddush Hashem Rodriguez Harbi Yosef. But he thought to himself, but as what I want to do is make a Kiddush Hashem, and Hashem's told me this is the way to make a Kiddush Hashem. I think there's a way to make a bigger Kiddush Hashem. I've discovered a better way to make a Kiddush Hashem. Who Nivra B'Madregas Gavai Kiddush, and I've already explained he's made in the most incredibly sublime spiritual level. V'hushim began Eden Belishim Mega Imhara, and he was put into a place where there was no negativity whatsoever. Ba'adarabba Im Kol Hasiyam Havsharim L'Tayv. He was equipped with every single tool he needed in order to do good. And Shahiyam Alochim B'Sham Shemaisai. When angels used to come along and serve him, whatever that means again, how you serve a creature of light, but okay, it works in our minds. So what's he going to feel? He's going to feel himself to be insufficient when it comes to the equation of what I'm getting to what I'm giving. And when you feel that you're getting far more than you're giving, what do you feel? I told you the story about the Mashgiach who gets into Yeshiva and me when I got married. Did I tell you the story? I'm sure I told you. I'm sure. I'll start and then after Rosh Hashanah, I think I've started. When I wasn't getting into Yeshiva, I was engaged, I was about to get married, and I didn't have any money, or very little money. And so I was walking. Now, the story is that I was in the shir of Rav Moshe Schwab, that's Rav Shimon Schwab's brother. He gave second shir in Gesser Shiv, so I started in the second shir. And something which is difficult to say, but to recall, I should say. Certainly easy to say, though. It says Asa L'chora, which it says in the beginning of Birkei Avos, it says you make for yourself a rabbi, you choose the rabbi. And it's like going out on a date with a girl, going on a shooting with a girl. Even if you don't want to go out after a couple of times, that's not rejection of the girl, it's a rejection of the girl for you, or vice versa. It's not condemnation. She's not saying I think Chaim or Avi or Moshe or whoever it is not a nice person. It's not for me. It's the same when it comes to getting a rabbi. Asadach Rav means that, you choose your Rab, and it's very much a chemistry thing as well. You feel that this rabbi gets me, and I get him, and that's fine. No rabbi, none of my Talmidim over the years who, graduated past me and went on to other rabbanim was perfectly happy. Get the best advice that you can, or the person you're most comfortable with. Fine. So in Gates of the Shiva, there was Reb Leib Lapian, the Rosh Shiva, Reb Elia's son, and Reb Moshe Schwab. And they had very different approaches. Lived across the road from each other. And Reb Moshe, apart from the person whose shir I was also a huge shotgun. He loved making shidduchim. He was also the most effective fundraiser for Gates of the Shiva. And when he was out of the country in Europe raising funds, which if I recall rightly he spent 6 weeks doing, which was tremendous Mesiras Nefesh. But he spoke several languages and he was very good and he's very popular and people loved him. Anyway, so basically by the time he came back, I was engaged. Now, I was in a shir, I hadn't discussed it with him. Actually, in those days, it was easy. I don't know how I'd actually gone about that. But anyway, so I hadn't discussed it with him. He was a shotgun, and not only that, I'd gone to Reb Leib Lapian, and I said, they're very different approaches. I wasn't in Reb Leib's share, he gave the top share. I was in his share. And it hurt, and I knew that it hurt. And having gone and sought out another rabbi, I knew that it would have hurt him. And frankly, it's wrong to say I didn't care, but I still felt that I was going to press ahead. Anyway, so I think it was the week before I went to get married, we were walking out the back alley of the yeshiva, Windermere Street in Gateshead, and I was walking with him, we were discussing some point in the Gemara, and we got to the top, and he said, it's very important when a young man gets married for him to be able to put his hand in his pocket, take out some money, and say to your wife, here, go and buy yourself something nice. And saying that, he took my hand and stuffed £750 in cash into my hand. Now this was, this is embarrassing, this was 44 years ago. 44 years ago. So £750 was a lot of money in those days. In those days that was like $1,500. And then kick in inflation, so I don't know what it is, 8,000, 10,000. And I said, no, it's so terrible, I'm taking this for... Anyway, so the next day we were walking up the back alley, the back lane from the yeshiva again, and he was, we were talking over the Gemara, and at the top he said, after he finished explaining the Tosfos, whoever I was stuck on, he said, I've been thinking about that money I gave you yesterday. It's not enough, and he stuffed another 250,000. Now, how did I
like that?
Yeah. How did I feel about myself? Yeah, it's a electron microscope to see Rubens did. And I didn't feel any good. And it's interesting this I story. When I was in Kyle, there was a fellow there who came, a young fellow who came from a divorced family, and he got engaged, and we knew they didn't have any money. So I went around and I collected from 10 people I knew £100 each, and then I phoned him up, and I said to him, whatever his name was, let's call him David. David, let's see, Yana, I'm phoning you from the bank, and I want to put some money into your account. What's your account number? So he told me the account number and the sort code, the routing number, I think we're calling it. And I said, and I'm coming to the wedding. He was very pleased. I'm coming to the wedding. Oh, it was in Antwerp. And then I said to him, David, it's very important when a young man gets married for him to be able to put his hand in his pocket, take out some money, and tell his wife, go and buy something nice. I'm putting £1,000 into your account. He said, £1,000? I said, I'm going to go. Hang on. Right. I only felt a mention of myself when I did that 2 other times. Because then I felt I was paying back. Because to get all that from somebody I had hurt, and quite blatantly so, blatant's against not the right word, but I knew I'd hurt him when I was, I only felt good when I was able, in his schus, to be able to do it again. Because if you get something from nothing, as the Gemara says, you feel as bread that you get for nothing, you feel like a well, and I don't know if you were in Mincha tonight, but there's a very sweet young man who was going around with a pushka. But there's so many, and they're very generous kehillas, tons of dollar bills in there. And he's trying to rattle it, but the coins were rattling because so many coins. So I said, bombed out, took his hand, stuck the money in there, I said, no, rattle it. And then rattle it. So they said, oh, I didn't know. I said, no. And I almost felt myself saying, yeah, but I'm a professional snorer. But there's something true in that, right? Yeah. There's expertise that you get, and you know how to do things properly. I only felt when I'd done the same thing 3 times, I was giving back. So let's go to what he says. We're in the 5th line down the second paragraph. So Adam Rishon, naturally, a good person, like me, I was a good person, I wanted to pay back. He felt that his chelik, what he was giving, compared to what he was getting, what he was getting. How much he would increase Kavod Shemaim, he was able to think, if he himself was to move himself a little bit towards an understanding of what Toivera was. That's right. And to let himself go down a little bit, so that bad and evil, good and evil are integrated within him. For Shom, and there, in a more difficult madriga, that through his own freedom of choice, he would overcome that, he would fight the battles and go up. That's more. Then he stops feeling bad. Now think about Ne'emet Ksifa for a second. What does Ne'emet Ksifa mean? It's the feeling of embarrassment you get when you get something for nothing. So somebody once asked me an interesting question. Hashem made us that we feel something bad we get for nothing. That's why I did the mitzvah that Moshe did to me, then multiplied by 3, I was able to do it back, right? So in a sense, it's a good thing that you feel Ne'emet Ksifa. Otherwise, if I didn't feel any embarrassment, I say, thanks, only 1,000. How about 2? Right. But you do feel bad. But that led to the problem here. Couldn't God have made us that we didn't feel Ne'emet Ksifa?
Yeah.
You with me? Oh. Tricky. So this is something we mentioned last week. Do angels have freedom of choice or not?
No.
So they say no because, again, the Hebrew word for where God's hidden and therefore you can't see God, and therefore it gives you a possibility of 2. He does exist, he doesn't exist. Is in this world, the name for this world is Olam. Take away the Vav, you get the root of the word Ayin Lamed Mem, means hide or hidden, a place in which God is hidden, in which case you can choose. Right? So that's why angels don't have freedom of choice. Right? Because they see God. So why do we call it Olam Haba? Because even there, and here's the trick, if you are a sentient being, a phrase beloved of science fiction, but you get the idea. Sentient means self-aware. If you're self-aware, if you can use the word I to describe yourself, then I, the phrase, if I'm I and you're you, then I am I and you're you. If I'm I because you're you, or you're you because I'm I, then I'm not I and you're not you. You come across that one? Yeah. So, but sorry, that was too quick. But you get it, there's I and you. If I feel I, then I'm not you. Does that make sense? Okay. So, how do you know that angels live in a world in which they don't have choice? Because they see God. And yet, when Hashem says to the angels, let us make man, the us is you and the angels, as Rashi says, Hashem includes them in the process. If Hashem makes the angels part of it and says to them, let us make man, you remember my famous trick question there, what did they reply? Trick question.
They responded?
Yes. Of course they did. The response is well known. I'm trying to trip you up on the response.
They said he's gonna be a liar.
No. Pretend you don't know the story. What must they have said? I'll make it easy. What must they have said? Shem says, let us make man.
No, you do.
They said, sure.
No.
Whatever you say.
No. Oh, you're missing the point. They said, what's a man?
Yeah.
There'd never been one before. Right? And then Hashem describes this, as I was saying. Then Hashem describes what he's like, what we can be greater than them, or rebel against them, and they go, no! Right, well, probably not that way, but you get the idea. No. If they said no, they've got perspective. If they said no, they think. They're sentient. They're I. And as soon as you feel an I, my point of view, our point of view, that means that they felt separate. If you feel separate from God, innately that's false. Because, wait for the big one, Ein Od Mulvadoi. I've seen this twice in bumper stickers. I think this is hilarious. Right? Ein Od Mulvadoi, what are you driving? Right? It doesn't exist, only Hashem exists, right? But if you feel I, then automatically you're going to feel a sense of separateness. Now, when Hashem takes the angels, the fallen angels at the end of Parshas Noach, and he puts them in this world where they don't see Hashem, then that sense of I just kicks in. And Moshe finds it in Zechasad Livrocha. It's clear that angels do have freedom of choice. It's just that they live in a world where it's not operable. It can't go into gear. But when they come to this world, it does go into gear. But innately, if they feel I, now could God make us? Yeah, but then we're robots. Right? But they're not. Angels have a perspective, and certainly human beings have a perspective. So let's go back to
there are instances where Malachim have done some kind of hate, right?
Yes, but that's when they're here.
Oh, so it's only when...
Yeah, as far as I don't know. I've not been up there seeing how they're behaving. Anyway, and therefore, if I was to go down and then go back up again, I'd be giving so much more. And from $1,000 I turn into pounds, I turn into £3,000.
But you didn't have a concept instead of rob.
Sorry?
You had a concept of rob.
No, that's what he says. No. So therefore, his choices between good and good is what he's saying here. This is doing. I only want to do what Hashem says. That fits very nicely what the Ramban said. And Rashi says he's got no Yitzhara. It's only want to do good.
So where's he?
See, that's the trick. Remember, the Yitzhara is coming with this idea. This idea comes from outside. That is the
So there was the Yitzhara or there wasn't?
Yes, but not part of him. What's part of him is only to do good. Now the Yitzhara therefore has to sneak in, camouflage bad, looking like good. So he sells it to him. Don't do something bad. Do something good.
This is ultimately what they got.
Yeah. In fact, the Shem Nishmul says. The Rambam says, how did Avodah Zarah start? And Hilchos Avodah Zarah in the first parak in the first halacha. Avodah Zarah started because originally everybody knew that Hashem existed, and then in the generation of Enosh, Adam's grandson, and already people made an enormous mistake, and they said the following thing: since God has created these planets and these stars, lahani gesa olam, to run the world, we should honor them. We should honor them
in His honor,
and reflect honor to God, right? Just like a senior government minister was to come in here, somebody in the president's cabinet, or certainly in England, if the Prime Minister of England was to walk in here now, then really, halachically, even as Americans, we should stand up, because he is the Queen's Prime Minister, First Minister, and the Queen's Prime Minister is somebody you are honouring and reflecting honour to him, and Kavod HaMelech is a concept. So basically, I've gone off my track there. What was I telling this for?
So the Yitzhara was not in him, but he was able.
It was something else. So exactly able to, but you have to do it in such a way that he doesn't think there is a bad thing. He thinks it's a good thing. So if I'm doing more for Hashem, isn't that a good thing? Because my only purpose in life is you've got to up your game if you're the Yitzhara. Okay. So not only does he come from outside, that's the symbolism, the metaphor, if you like, of the snake, but it also means that what he came with from outside wasn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. Because he knows he only wants to do good. Right? And he's really upping his game. We're talking about somebody who the angels can know is better than them. You have to be extremely good to trip somebody like that up.
Like if the Yitzhara could trip up Adam, what chance do we have?
Oh, so we talked about that last week, if you remember. When the Mashiach comes and we get to automatically, subsequent to that, we're all put on the level of the 49th level, then there is a floor. Hashem creates so we can go down.
Adam didn't have a floor.
He didn't have a floor. Nor did we, the eagles, have. But then we will. But there was still a freedom of choice, because that's the whole name of the game. So the question is, do we go from 49 to 50? Let's finish this bit. Okay. So where are we up to? And if he decides to go down to a darker and lower level, and in that level, to go up through his freedom of choice, wow, he'll be able to turn dark into light. I'm showing that I'm paying back, I'm giving back more, I'm doing more. Wouldn't that be a bigger Kiddush Hashem? Because I'm only interested in Kiddush Hashem. It'd be an infinite amount of Kiddush Hashem. Kach bo lov pisa yitzah. That's how the Yitzhar came to him. And it said, sorry, I went off that tangent, because I was telling you how the Avodah Zarah started. Then the Shem Mishmol says that if you think about it, it's very brilliant. The Yitzhar comes to Enosh and he says, look, God created these stars and planets to create. So you don't think for one moment that having created the world, Hashem's hovering about, hanging about for you. Are you kidding? You're an amoeba. You're a whatever it is, a virus. Sorry, wrong word. You're nothing, right? Hashem is another part of the galaxy doing whatever Hashem's doing. Free stuff, made the planets and stars, the mazolas, they control this world. And think about it, it's called a Frum Yitzhar. Because it appeals to the good in you. And then you think, well, that's quite right. Yeah, who am I to think that Hashem's interested in me? Right? Yitzias Mitzrayim, which, as the announced show last night, is only 30 days away. Yitzias Mitzrayim was a proof that no Hashem is there. But you can see how Avodah Zarah gets started by the Yitzhar applying the same tactic of the Frum Yitzhar. Okay. Perish. So what does it mean? Nechma that eats haskell. If you eat from the edas, you'll be able to haskell. Understand? Perish yidam alosh the other yochal haskell is chadoshim, that he thought he'd be able to understand and have new insights and make new contributions. Ad enkates infinitely so. Or pieces and this suggestion came from outside. Baloshan ata, come over to elsewhere I explained, you could do this. But no more than that. You're obliged to do this. What sort of human, what sort of creation are you? Do you love Hashem or not?
He was told not to.
What?
Hashem told him not to.
Yeah, but why? In order to make a Kiddush Hashem. This is this calculation. But I want to make more Kiddush Hashem.
Don't eat from it.
Yeah. You certainly did something wrong. But we're trying to say what was the tactic to get him to do it. Baloshan Ata become over Haina Baloshan Ata Bechliv La'asas Kachikam Emes Avaz Hashem Direction if you really love it, just as I anticipated, I've read this before, of course, but I've forgotten. But that is a gam Kigam Emes. The argument was that the Emes Va'ahavas Hashem and your love for Hashem, the Reshes Titzasaka demands of you that you do this. It's a mitzvah. Haina Basur Avera L'Shem Shemayim.
He's testing you.
Oh, I'll give you light. Haina Basur Avera L'Shem Shemayim. It's an Avera L'Shem Shemayim. Is there such a concept of Avera? Yeah, absolutely. He is a very interesting concept. Ramatzia Solomon, Shlita, he says, for men like me to be teaching the girls' seminary is a Rufu L'Shem, is an Avera L'Shem Shemayim. Okay. Gedivri Arizal says and the Arizal says the same thing, and this was his test. Right? Now, of course, the logic with that is obvious, and the logic is that, as I think I told you once, I used to be the rabbi for over 25 years to 3,000 university students every year, and as I say in my little book for Big Worries, if you go to somebody with a problem, you really need to be going to somebody who really gets your problem, and the person who gets it best is the person who's been through the same problem himself. And also, but right? Carrying somebody's burden as though it was your own is only possible if you know what the burden is. Right? So therefore, as many decades, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but over 2.5 decades, when occasionally the students came to me occasionally with drug problems, I was never exposed to drugs is wrong, I suppose, but everybody's exposed to drugs. And student accommodation, you just walk through it. But I could, the ones who got involved in serious drugs like heroin, maybe I should have said to myself, you know what? To be a really effective counselor, I should become a heroin addict. But I know that, I'm not one of like these poor idiots. I'll just take enough heroin, many injections, whatever it is, of heroin, that you literally become physically addicted. I'll find out what it is. Is it 4 injections, 10 injections, 14, 20, I don't know. I'll take 20 injections or doses of heroin every day. And then I'll stop. Well, what's the flaw with that argument?
Well,
yeah, because it's addictive. And second of all, you don't know what it's like to be a heroin addict. It's a complete abstract. So he thought, I'll do this, I'll go down, I'll come up, be a Kiddush Hashem. How do you know? That's the flaw.
So what do you think? I mean, he knew Hashem on a level greater than measurable.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Don't leave from this.
Yeah. No, again, remember, remember what we said at the beginning of this. He says, the whole beginning, this little paragraph here, what are we doing looking at this story? He says, this is all beyond us. When he's given saying it's all beyond our abilities to understand. If it's could say near Hashem is but maybe we'll get a little bit of this, because he said at the beginning, this is anything that's written in this story isn't in the Torah is not a story for us just to enjoy. It's to deduce conclusions that we can apply to our life. Now everything I've told you is almost like gibberish, I suppose, because this is all beyond us. But can you bring this down to earth? Can you reach a conclusion that applies to you in your life? I can apply it to myself. Yeah. Don't make stuff up. Does the Torah ask for this? Don't be frumer than you should be. Don't be less frum than you should be. Don't take on chumras unless you have been told by your Rav to take on. I can think of lots of things like that. And don't think that sometimes because you're giving, something bad, you're taking something bad about that. In fact, one of my talmidim told me when he was in Or Sameach that somebody told him when he needed some financial input at some point in his life. Ches is like a bank. Sometimes you put stuff in, sometimes you draw it out. So don't be embarrassed if sometimes you have to get a bit of help. Sometimes that's necessary too. So there's a lot we can draw out of this. But anyway, that at least is about 3 weeks. I'm going to leave it just now. But there's far more to get to in this, and you can all the people here can learn themselves. But there you go.